Hi everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We'll be starting the session now. I'll give you. Hi, I'm Priya Butola. I'm a part of NSRCEL team, and I'll give you a brief introduction about NSRCEL. NSRCEL is a startup ecosystem, uh, a startup hub. A startup hub of IIM Bangalore, and we have been experts in the space for more than 2 decades. And we are on a mission to catalyze entrepreneurship ecosystem and to bring together entrepreneurs in academia and the industry to foster fundamental research in the entrepreneurship ecosystem. And we have around 13 to 14 programs running in NSRCEL as of now. And yeah, so Today, I'll be sharing about one of our programs known as Impact Orbit, where we incubate tech-enabled social startups. It's the largest incubator. It's the largest program who incubates for-profit and non-profit startups. For-profit and non-profit startups in partnership with Capgemini. Who is it for, and what you can expect from the program? It's an early revenue to growth stage program where we incubate impact first ventures, and we do look at the tech enabled social startups where you're creating meaningful difference in the lives of the people through your innovative approaches. And we are sector agnostic, so whether you're from healthcare sector or agri-tech sector, so you feel free to apply to our program. Along with that, what you can expect, what we offer you, we offer the clarity in the value proposition and in the business model. We provide grants up to INR 15 lakhs to the selected ventures. We provide understanding on the alternate sources of funding that are available in the ecosystem and provide the investor connects as well. You will get understanding on various important aspects of the entrepreneurship. For example, impact matrices and the readiness in the ecosystem and access to the networking and impact ecosystem. Along with that, we have alumni from the system. For example, like Vigyanshala International, how they have been working is they are bridging the gap in the STEM ecosystem through their work, where they are educating the undergraduate STEM girls and providing the accessible and building that accessibility gap in the STEM ecosystem. So, and they are using the tech enabled approach of like bringing in the speakers from all over the globe using the tech platform. So that's how they're leveraging the tech in building the scale. So the deadlines of the program is open as of now, and we have a cohort intake in every 3-4 months, and we'll be doing 8 cohorts. And this time, cohorts applications are open for the Orbit 3 cohort. So please feel free to apply. We would like to, and please share in your networks as much as you can about the program, and feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions on nsrcel.social@imb.ac.in. I'll share the link to apply to the program in the chat. Moving towards the session, today we'll be talking on the scaling impact through technology strategies and challenges, and we have with us Nagaraja Prakasam and Khushboo Awasthi. Nagaraja Prakasam, he's the partner at Acumen Fund and have been a mentor at NSRCEL from many years now. And he recently has written the book Back to Bharat, and which you should read. It's very, very insightful book. And I've been started the book just now. So yeah. And Khushboo Awasthi, she is one of the alumni from our Impact Orbit program. And she's the co-founder of Mantra for Change, CEO, ShikshaLokam, and Schwab fellow. So handing it over to Naga and Khushboo.
Hey, thanks, Priya. Good evening, everyone, for joining this session about the scaling impact. You saw about the impact orbit, what's happening at NSRCEL. We've started this few years back. I think Khushboo was one of our first cohort in that social program. So this session is going to be around, how she had scaled up, because in the book on Back to Bharat in Search of Sustainable Future, I have mentioned about a few of the social entrepreneurs who are building a sustainable future. Because the sustainability, as you look at from the SDG, there are 17 goals there. So the country is today no longer measured on just the GDP alone, because you can't measure the country's a car's performance using only the speed at which it goes. You have multiple dials in your dashboard. So that's what the SDG is all about, that the country's performance need to be measured in the 17 areas. You need to do an inclusive growth. The growth need not be skewed. As of now, right, the world has two problems: climate change and inequality. So there is quite a bit of gap in the equality. There is a wealth accumulation. And so for that, we need to start looking at growth across every sector, every religion, every whatever possible, so that the growth is inclusive. So we have always seen is that education is one of the leveler. I think in today's CSR activities, in foundation donation activity, the number one is on education, because we all know about the power of education. I'm the first generation graduate. I do understand what education can do to you and what it can help you, which is very well understood in the country. But at the same time, we have billions, in there we need to bring up. So the government system alone may not be possible to bring a lot of people into the, educated crowd. At the same time, there are initiatives. How do we help with that system as well? I think with that thought only, Khushboo and Santosh had started Mantra for Change. I will let her talk about, the early journey. But what we need to start look at, we're going to probably talk in few aspects today. So one is about the early days, and also about sustaining it, because social business, social entrepreneurship today is very glamorous from outside. You'll get social media putting a lot of emphasis on you. Media will cover you saying that, wow, you are the savior of the world. But I always joke about in social entrepreneurship, it's like a beauty pageant, right? So the person wins the title, then they put the tiara and ask her a question: what do you want to with the rest of your life? And she will start saying about saving the poor and do something for the world. Next year she's in Bollywood. So that's what happened in many in social entrepreneur. They come in with lot of interest to solve the problem. When they started working on it, it's a tough job, and people always wonder, right? So some guy is selling idli, raising $10 million, but I'm sitting in Odisha with 41 degrees centigrade, working with the weavers. What am I doing wrong? So that is why it requires a lot of perseverance, because the problem the social entrepreneurs picking up, it is a societal problem. It takes a lot of behavioral change. It takes a lot of time. If you look at many examples I mentioned in the book, like Sahas, it took 20 years for her to figure out the waste management. Today, she's a leader in the space. Gramalaya Damodaran, after 35 years of building Swachh Bharat, last year he got a Padma Shri, right? Become the toilet man of India. So he never gave up 35 years, 30 years when no one understood what he was doing. But now government picked up and he's very happy about it. So that requires a lot of perseverance. With that, we will talk about the early journey, sustainability, and how tech comes into the play as well. And probably at the end, we can ask questions, or you can maybe start sharing your questions if we have with Priya. We can maybe address that as well. I don't have a PowerPoint presentation, so we can tailor it as long as what you want to hear. So with that, Khushboo, so yeah, please tell about the journey from your IT Wipro days to APU, and how you get started on this.
Sure, sir. Absolutely. I think journey of social entrepreneurs are always very, very special. And a number of times when people ask us to share about the journey, it always brings the same energy, the same warmth to the heart to talk about it. So good afternoon, everyone, from wherever you have joined. Happy Rakhi to you. I know there's a large part of the country is celebrating Rakhi today. So thanks for making time to join us this afternoon. Being part of the first cohort of NSRCEL Social, now known as Impact Orbit, was super special. And the background that you see behind Naga sir is the tree where we used to sit for all our mentoring sessions. So it's a very special place. I am Bangalore and NSRCEL. So thank you for having me, Priya and Naga sir. Coming to our journey, Mantra's journey it's like two streams converging to start something that was a joint vision. So Santosh and I are school friends. We come from the same city in Bihar, and both of us are engineers. We completed our engineering and then started working with corporates. I was working with Wipro Technologies and then Honeywell, and Santosh was working with Infosys. But and the life at corporate at both the Infosys, Wipro, and Honeywell, wherever we were, I think it was a very happy place. We were blessed to have good managers, good team leads who were really helping us see the power of that path. But having said that, I think coming from Bihar, that whole lens that we brought and the lens with which we started seeing life in Bangalore really helped us go beyond. We started comparing that, how life in Bihar is, how difficult it used to be growing up as a child there, how the level of poverty that you see there, or the kind of restrictions, the social norms that we had to face there living in Bihar. For example, I'll talk about myself here. Being a girl, I was and growing up in the 90s, I was always told that don't stay outside home after 5 p.m. And for me, that was a norm. So the first time when I stepped out for my engineering and I saw girls roaming around at 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, or 9 o'clock going out for dinner, it was such a shock for me. It's like, no, it couldn't happen, So norms after norms, I think we have seen breaking in front of our eyes. And that really led us to believe that there's so much more possible that can be done. And one lever, if we were to identify then and even now, it was education. We said we are able to live this life because of the education that we got. And what if we could enable it for so many more children out there? So I think that was the seed of the idea. And like I said, both of us were engineers. So we knew nothing about education apart from being subjected to education in our school and colleges. So we said, let's understand what this impact sector is a bit more. Because the desire was so strong, the intent was so pure, we said, let's take the plunge. So I applied for my master's in Tata Institute of Social Sciences. I completed my 2 years of master's, participated in a lot of these community exercises, a lot of internships into communities like Dharavi. Santosh was a Teach for India fellow in Pune. So we used to work a lot with the parent community in the community from where children in Santosh's classroom used to come. So I think that was our deep immersion period in terms of understanding what children's aspirations were, what kind of challenges they were going through, what parents, how schools were looking at the purpose of education and the means of delivery. So a lot of these learnings, right? And 2012 was the time when we decided that finally we will start something like Mantra. I was still in college. I was just about to graduate. So we were still defining what Mantra would do. We knew that children have to get better education, but the theory of change was still getting formulated, right? So, we have only some 1 hour with us, so I'll try to keep it short. It's more about phases of the organization's journey. The initial phase is always very slow, where we were going to, where we spend a lot of time understanding the need, understanding the education system. We knew one thing, that we don't want to create a parallel system. So working with existing schools, working with existing community centers was the core. So we started engaging with existing schools in the early days. We just visited some of the schools right here in Bangalore, in near Banshankari. And because both Santosh and I don't speak Kannada, we tried and find some communities where there were a lot of Muslim population, because they speak Urdu, and then the communication gap was not there. We realized that the minute you are able to communicate your desire, your vision with deep passion, with the right intent, the other party responds. So all our initial, so to say, in the schools, the partners, the parents, whosoever we spoke to, there was something that they started trusting, and they just opened their door to say, come, let's work together. Right. So we started with one community, then one school. We started understanding more about, you can't just work with children, because, we going inside the classroom and teaching the children will never solve the problem for every child in the country. There are teachers, but there are reasons why teachers are doing certain things in their way. So we had to go, it's like that iceberg. You go underneath, beneath, and you realize there are more systemic causes to why people are behaving that way. And for us, it was a journey of immense discovery. We realized why teachers are limited in their approaches in their classroom, because parents have certain expectations that classwork notebook, homework notebook mein kuch to likha hona chahiye. And now here we are talking about no rote learning, engage in activities. But then parents are checking the notebook. And if there's nothing written in the notebook, teachers are being asked questions to say, what are you teaching inside the classroom? And that creates pressures on the school leaders. Because school leaders then say, oh, parents are asking questions to me. Hundreds of parents are standing outside my office. This is not the only job that I have. I have to do really meaningful work on curriculum and other things. So this was the whole cycle that we understood. What is the interplay of actors within a school system? And this finally led us to one thing led to other. And finally, we arrived at our own theory of change to say we'll focus on school improvement. If school is an organization, we have to look at school as a system, and then work with all the actors involved in this to help shape the better education journey for the child. So we started working on what would a school quality rubric look like, the framework, what are the areas. And when I'm talking about it, it's not like everything we did alone. So while all this discovery was going on in the field, very early on, we realized that, our learning curve has to be very steep. So we reached out to who understands education better. So we reached out to fellow NGOs during that time who were working in education. We reached out to Azim Premji University, because being in Bangalore, they were running a master's in education course. We said, there are these wonderful set of educationists, professors who understand this. Why don't we learn from them? And again, we were very pleasantly surprised that these people the professors really opened up their doors. They said, come sit in our classrooms. If you want to learn, you're most welcome, come and join our students and learn about it. Then not only that, one thing led to other. They said, why not our students go to your schools, observe things in action. And then that led to more discussions. So phase one of our journey of Mantra was so much about discovering, building those partnerships, understanding who knows better than us, who else can we reach out to, being very, very close to the stakeholders, because that's what they were the ones who were giving us inputs. So I think the whole design of the program kind of emerged. We never felt that we already had the solution and this is something that we are going to take to the school. But it was so much about designing together, figuring out emergent nature of the design that still continues. Talking about the initial struggles, I think three things that, actually four, I would like to call out. One, the pitch. When we thought of school improvement as an idea, and you're going to a school and you're talking to a school principal, you're saying, hey, you know what, I'm going to, we called our program STEP. It's called School Transformation and Empowerment Project. And we said, we are here to help you improve schools. And they're like, no, that's not how organizations work. Either you have to give me a product or you have to offer me a service. I mean, what is this step that you're talking about? You are telling you are here to come to work with me, make me work extra, and then my school will improve. So I think the whole communication was a big learning in the early days, that how do you may have a very beautiful idea in your mind, but how you pitch it has to be tuned to the listener on the other side. And how we were telling our stories to the schools, how we were telling our stories to the funders, they were very different, right? They had to be tweaked to the person. Communication was the initial struggle. I was part of the initial learning journey. Second was team. Santosh and I, okay, as a side note, 2013, we also got married to each other. So, you're in the same family, you're working together, you're fighting, debating, but then finally you have to, you're committed, you have to work together. But how do you get more team members on board this mission? In early days, we bootstrapped Mantra. We had no funding support, and most of the people on this call know how difficult it is for an NGO to raise funds in the first 3 years if you don't have your, ATG, 12A, all those certificates in place. So I think attracting the right talent in the beginning is a key thing. And we didn't know them yet, but I think we were very creative about it. For example, our relationship with Azim Premji University, we said, when students started coming to intern with us, we made sure that we invested time to create a very positive experience for them, a very engaging and very deep discovery, what had led us to believe in the power of education. They also had similar things. So many of these interns started joining Mantra for Change when we went for the campus placement. So just getting the right people, balancing the lack of funds was very a critical part of our early phase of our journey, but we kept at it and we found some very good people. And I'm very proud to share that many of them, like we hired some 7 people joined us in 2015, and 5 of them are still there with Mantha Coaching. Right. So our retention that way is from the early days, people who have grown with the idea, who've seen the organization grow, are still there. Funds, again, fundraising, like I said, in the early days is very difficult. So there were challenges. There were times when we had only visibility to 3 months of funds in the account, and you're like, what to do? How else do you do? It's not that overnight somebody's going to give you funds. So we did a lot of crowdsource fundraising, made sure that our friends and our friends of friends kept giving us small, whatever money they could. And the vision was more important. We kept sharing our story. And if you see it as a triangle, I wish there was a whiteboard. How you communicate, the ecosystem that you keep building with your communication and your work, because just doing work is not enough. You have to talk about it. That vision, that work has to be seen to others. And that attracts more and more people to your vision, and they start contributing. So that leads to better support that you are able to orchestrate in terms of funds, in terms of people, in terms of your just supporters in the ecosystem who talk good about you, right? So I think funds was another big challenge in the early days. And even, no NGO will ever say that fund is not a challenge anymore. The fourth thing, and that I think is related to the topic today that I wanted to talk about, is the whole imagination of scale. Early days, we were working with STEP program, where one school STEP lead, one program lead used to be mapped to a school. So we are spending the day there. We are working to transform the school, work with the school leaders, teachers, everybody. And then we said, hey, we have to work with government schools. We said, okay, who do you approach? The block education officer. We met a block education officer, and she was very kind. She understood, and there were these school principals who vouched for us. They said,
so this point, I would like to little more emphasize, Khushboo. I think so. The one point, I think, if you start looking at the journey, right? One is about clarity of the clarity is evolving across that what I'm going to do. So this is where we have a lot of problems, in many of the social entrepreneurs, is about that. You start with solving a problem, and now you're analyzing. There is a phase that you're understanding what problem you want to solve. So this point, what Khushboo was narrating about, so you go start about teaching, but there is some other problem is there. So then you go back and they say which one you want to solve. That's a major decision entrepreneur need to make in a social entrepreneurship, right? If you go to a place in a village, you said, I'm going to fix a school, but they say that, children are walking 5 kilometers to fetch water. So then am I going to solve water problem or education problem? So that's where that we need to be clear. So this early on, what problem that you're solving, we need to clear about that. Once you fix that, this is what you're going to solve, there's no looking back. So this point, what the evolution it took for that idea to arrive that, okay, I'm not, teaching, I'm going to fix the school, because already there is a government spending. That's what I always say, that if you look at today, the number one funding goes in nonprofits towards the education part. So if government is spending X rupees or something, there is a 4X, 5X NGOs are putting into the government system to make it work. So then the question for us to look at that, wow, can we look at the private system? That's what the RTE system was introduced to say, that is government is a provider or just a regulator, right? So I'll give you some money, go get the education wherever you wanted. But unfortunately, that did not take off very well. The private system did not want the children. They found loopholes. All this craziness happened. But at the same time, there are systems working very well within the government as well. So that's the journey, that the evolution happened in Mantra journey, that what problem I'm fixing. It's very, very important, because the moment we put the session title as technology, and people will say that, wow, I have a technology. Everybody talk about the AI today, right? As if that they sat with the OpenAI team, they wrote the entire architecture. Everybody mug up, right? We are very good in mugging up the technology that popular, whatever is popular today, and then try to force fit into what I'm solving, right? The technology is first. Then I look at what problem you're going to solve. So she spoke about, lengthy, the tech was not at all come into the picture at all, right? So what is important is about the problem that you're solving, then how you're solving it, that is important. Tech is just an enabler that will come and help you and fit in. So otherwise, what happened that, we have people saying that I've developed an app, I need funding to market the app. Okay, so how you make the money? It's free app. So you're giving something free, people don't want to buy, don't want to take it, right? So then how bad is your app? So this is what that we need to start realizing in that tech first is not going to help us. If you start looking at tech as an enabler, you will start able to appreciate what we are trying to do. So the second part is about, whenever I meet a nonprofit, I always say, would you, when will you exit, right? So you're solving a problem. After some time, your problem is solved, you should walk away. The Damodaran example, he said, after 35 years, Swachh Bharat is solved, I'm done. Okay, I'm no longer working on, sanitation, I'm going to work on menstrual hygiene. So similarly, what I liked in Mantra when we met is about, there is a clear plan about the exit point, right? When she started working with the school and they started identifying that what need to be done for the school transformation, then how I can come out of it. So the first few meeting itself, that how much of documentation, there's many startups hate documentation, right? So they will come up with Excel sheet only. They're showing that these are all the parameters we are tracking. This is what the STEP program is, right? How this questionnaire that we are developing, helping to identify, because in India, it's a very diverse country, right? Every 50 kilometers, 100 kilometers, you have a different India, right? Different clothing, different eating habits, different language, different dialects. So you cannot have a cookie cut model. So that means that this system that they developed, building up about, identifying what the problem that school is, going through, then customizing the solution is going to be the important one. So Khushboo, so this analysis about this, how do you come up with the idea that, okay, I should exit the school, right? That's number one. Because every nonprofit should have that thought process in their mind that if I should be an enabler. I enable somebody, then I walk out. So 5 years after I go, I ensure that what I've done is working. That's what many of the government program fails, is that there's a project, it's a 2-year project. When the project funding stops, that we go after 4 years, you will have nothing happening. There will be a lot of schools will have a building which not been utilized. A lot of NGOs will have a building not utilized because the funding stopped. They will are doing like 5 projects, 6 projects based on funding. So when we launched the social cohort, so we were the first time we were getting into the nonprofit side. I remember still discussing with Sabari back then, is about that we always know about for profit, about systems, tool, all these things when we're providing, what we do for a nonprofit. That's what we came a thought that nonprofit is having 2 customers, where for profit has only 1 customer. You have nonprofits have a donor as well as a beneficiary, both of your customer. Both of them should be happy. Everything else is the same. So that's an element that we brought in our first cohort onwards, is that how do we put a systems in place? And Mantra was a great example of how they themselves came up with the system. So that system thinking, right, Khushboo, 2 angle, right? One is the sustainability of your program relies on enabling the beneficiary so that you exit, it still works. Then how do you do it in a systematic manner so that there is a proof? And then how you develop this step model, right? If you go deeper, that'll be great.
Sure. So starting about the sustainability aspect first, because that was, so when you think of any program, when we were thinking school transformation, we said, what are the design principles? What is something that will be non-negotiable? And there were 7 such principles, but let me talk about 3. First was agency. We said, I think Nagaraja just now used that word, that we are the enablers. We are not going to replace the school leader. Ultimately, it's the school leader who has to run the school. So what do I do so that there is enough example, enough evidence in the school that the school leader believes that this process works, and then she's super motivated to take that up as part of the school process, right? So agency being one. Second was sustainability, saying that whatever we design, it has to be a +1. It has to be something that can be very easily assimilated into the existing school processes. Don't introduce something that that the moment you go out, it is gonna come rolling down, because because of the cost or the kind of expertise that is required to run it. So how do you not bring anything that is non-sustainable, and how do you weave the sustainability into the approach of it, right? In our program, we always said, if you look at these 2 principles, at a very actionable level, we said, don't solve, build the ability to solve. So when I talk about STEP as a program, there was a need assessment to be done. There was a framework on which schools were rated. Like, these are the 7 domains, these are the subdomains, schools will be assessed on a certain tool. We never did it alone. Even if it took time, we made sure that the school leader and a team of teachers were familiarized with the STEP framework. They understood it. And then we sat around a table to say, what do you think that where your school is? So the rating which came at the end of that assessment exercise was a shared rating. Everybody agreed on it. Now, one of the initial dilemmas that we used to have was, we believe that in a certain domain, say parent participation, school was in level 1. That is very poor. But the teachers and the leaders, because they were discussing, they felt they were still in level 2. That is fair. And in the beginning, we used to debate a lot, and we used to, we were learning, right? But we realized it doesn't matter. It's okay even if they're saying that they're at level 2, because they will never rate themselves as excellent. So there's still a development path. There is still an improvement plan that can be woven on top of it, right? So that need assessment being done together helped the school leaders understand what are the areas of improvement. How does one go about doing this? And because we were doing it together, the documentation was one aspect that Nagaraja talked about. It was so important because it's not just that two of us are talking and we understand and that's why we are able to carry it out. Now, because you have to present it to the school principal and teachers, you have to have some printouts. You need to have some documents that you can show and discuss together on. So documentation was a very big aspect, a very big focus of Mantra's culture from the beginning, saying that you document everything. Make sure documents will evolve, they will become better, but whatever your understanding is, till you can put it on paper, it's not going to go on field, right? So the ability to solve, so need assessment was done. Then even the school development plan that we designed was done together. So prioritization of which domains do the school leaders want to work on. It was always done together. They were the ones who were picking it. We were just there to help them rationalize it, saying that, is this better or that is better? If there is argument, we were there to resolve it. We were there to offer them templates to say, hey, this is how you develop. If you're designing a plan, it is always better to put a timeline to it. Otherwise, it will be never completed. So I think that was our value add. That is what STEP became eventually, to say, how do you provide that framework of school improvement to the school team? Distributing the ability to solve from the very beginning. And then when you say that, I will, so in the beginning, because you're doing it together, you are maybe taking lead into the process. Next cycle, they are taking the lead, you're just observing. Third cycle, you are just observing, you're not even like giving any input. And then you're very sure that this process is going to sustain and you exit. So exit strategy, that you have to exit, was part of our design from the beginning. Wherever we entered a school, we always knew we had to exit. Mantra is not going to be present in this geography, in this school, in this institution for more than 2 years, 3 years, depending on the complexity of the entity that we are dealing with, right? Any part that you would like me to?
Yeah, so that's great. So that part is important for all the social entrepreneurs in there. If you're doing a nonprofit side, if you're picking up problem, we always need to look at us enable them, and then you come out of it, and then ensure that there's a sustainability part. So how do you do the sustainable part is where, when I visited one of the school, I was asking the headmaster that, so what is this one thing that you thought that it changed? He said, then there are no more sticks, right? People now, the teachers have an ability to go converse and with the children and understand what is needed, instead of just looking at the marks and then start beating people up. So this is what the impact and that part what we'll start looking at is, right? So what you have done, can you narrate that in 1 line, 2 lines, instead of just writing a 100-page document about the impact output? So otherwise, the monitoring and evaluation itself is a separate business that people spend too much time on evaluate. So make that achievement, make the outcome is simple, that leader should be able to look at. And also the entrepreneur, we have to look at the way she was addressing them. She was using the word school leaders, right? So this is the other problem that I see in social entrepreneurs, is that they always look down on their beneficiaries. Especially in agri sector, I feel that everyone will say that, farmer uneducated, they have no idea what they're doing, I am the savior of them. the people in agriculture, I tell them that if you got a job in Microsoft, you're not going to tell that, wow, Bill Gates does not know anything, he hired me. You put it on social media that, wow, I'm feeling awesome, I got a job in Microsoft. But when you work in agriculture, you'll say that, my customer does not know anything, right? So I'm here to solve it. So that kind of looking them as a leader, right? And that's how you'll start appreciating the other side. Otherwise, what happens will become a one-way track, that you start dumping knowledge onto them, which they may not be able to comprehend, or they don't need it. Because as I said, you're going to the village, they want water, but you're saying that I'm going to fix the school. So you need to identify how to fix the water. You don't do it, because many entrepreneurs will start up doing that. Okay, I'll fix water as well, and I'll fix education also. You need to find partners. So this is the part I'm going to bring in, this collaboration element. Before bring the collaboration part, Khushboo, so can we start talking about how you enable, right? Because I remember attending the Jivadhara committee, the school management committee, which is every government school need to have. But it was amazing to interacting with this management committee. The principal was telling that first time in her 15 years working in the school, they went for an admission drive, right? A government school doing an admission drive. I said, like, you have a government job. Why would you need to work hard and go for admission drive? And the point she was coming at saying is that there is more and more interest in people going for the private schools. And if I don't increase the strength, the school may not be there. I don't have a job. So this is where about the enabling part, right? Have them understand the consequences of their ability. So can you give examples about how you made this sustainability made possible with an element of the building this committee, right? Which is comprised of this many stakeholders. They will continue the journey that you put in place so that you move out. The second example of the committee was really awesome, that this committee member, which is one of the alumni in the same village, and he was telling about how a mantra helped them to put a pitch into the Wells Fargo CSR, right? Because this committee said they've identified one problem about the teacher was facing. So just tell me that example as well, not only enabling the school leadership, but enabling the committee as well, solving the problem themselves. That is the key need for building a sustainable solutions. Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's completely linked to the sustainability aspect, like you said, sir. So all of us who are on this call, if we are leading an NGO or any organization, we know leadership is a very lonely job. Sometimes you feel the burden of this, like every decision has to be taken by me. If anything goes awry, I'm going to be responsible. So I think that was the first realization around which we said, no, leadership is a shared job. It is leadership and not a leader. So even if it is a school principal or a school HM, he or she doesn't need to be the sole burden bearer. There has to be, how do we find more people who want to take up this leadership role in the school and in and around that community? So thankfully, our constitution under Right to Education Act has created this provision of School Development and Management Committee, SDMC in Karnataka, outside it called SMC. And like any policy, there's when it is being implemented, there are aspects because of which the implementation doesn't happen that well. So we said, how do we find the people who are really interested in improving the school and bring them onto this committee? And we also let the school and the committee decide what name would they give it. So the Jivadhara committee in Karnataka in Anekal block was chosen by the participants. The name was chosen by the participants. And then, like so I was explaining, there was an alumni of the school, there was a panchayat member there, there were teachers there, there were other shop owners, local shop owners who were part of that committee. So suddenly you see that there's a diversity of perspectives, there's diversity of strengths that all of them can bring to the table. And then when you are deciding, coming together and saying what in my school needs to improve, the same lens of step, right? You have assessed the need and now you have identified an area of improvement. And now suddenly you feel you need some funds for it. So the story that Sir was talking about this pitch, and I'll keep going back to that phrase that I use, that it's about distributing the ability to solve, not solving. So they identified that there was this water pump that needed a cover, okay? Now, it was very easy for Mantra at that point to say, I would go, talk to some HNI and get some 25,000 rupees and give that to school. But we said, no. What is that we are going to do? We are going to write a proposal. We are going to pitch to somebody and somebody is going to give us money. Why not these people can do it? So what we took back to them was the template of writing a fundraising proposal. We said, identify, write your objective. Why do you need it? How is it affecting the children in the school? And we made sure that they had an audience. So we submitted that proposal to our network. One of the well-meaning individuals from the Wells Fargo team, they said, yeah, this sounds fantastic. I mean, how is school reaching out for writing a proposal like this? So they actually visited the Cluster Resource Center, sat there, and these people pitched. Like all of them were sitting in that room and pitched. And imagine from a donor lens suddenly, what a powerful moment it is. Khushboo is not standing there to tell the story of the school. The school leaders themselves are telling what they need. And at that moment, what will really solve their problem. And it was very seamless that person felt super, super impressed and they wrote the check. Right? And so forget that the money came. The main important part was that the team, now the Jeevadhari committee members felt so much confident that they could do it n number of times because they had learned what it takes to raise funds. They could do the same with Panchayat next year. They could do the same thing with some other, community leader next year. So it's about your ability to mobilize funds for a need of the school. It got built.
Yeah, so awesome. So that was amazing thing. So when we had the committee meeting, they said they fixed the midday meal school food as well. So I ended up eating there. It was really awesome. I grew up eating the midday meal in Tamil Nadu, but I think this is so awesome. So this is what the ability is, right? The system is there. It's broken. So as long as you enable it, it'll come back. Now the next part is about, so when we achieved this, we're very happy to see this, they're doing fantastic work. Then the next part is about when we started the social cohort as well, one of the learning for me working with, many NGOs since 99 is about the collaboration is very rare because we can't blame them as well, right? You go to a village and if somebody says water is a problem, then they'll start working on water related thing. Or they'll go approach a donor. The donor will say that, oh, you're working in Bihar. I have a project in Rajasthan. If you do that, I will support you. Then you throw your mission vision all in the dustbin and ended up working in Rajasthan, right? So this is what happened quite a bit on the mission drift part. So that's where in the social cohort, we always started telling about the collaboration, right? The more no you say, you become stronger in your vision. The more yes you say, that everybody become your competition. So the more no you say, you are clear that, okay, this is what I want to do. And you will start building a partner network. So when you start building the partner network, you will bring a partner who is expert in water, right? Same village, because you can't say no to them because you are the only person reaching out. So now you bring a partner who will solve a water problem. So while you're solving the education problem. So this is what, when Khushboo invited me to this Unequal block, and it was really surprising to see that we were emphasizing the cohort start collaborate each other. So this invite did not come from Khushboo, right? That she was, Pooja was inviting from Anthill. He said, we are, come and inaugurate one of 25th playground of ours. So we went there, then Khushboo was there. It's a surprise for you because we want to show you the collaboration. So this is the block that we've chosen. And in the school required a playground. So we brought Anthill to build this playground for that. So this is an ability for you to start saying no, and it'll bring more partners to them. So now the scalable part, right? One things were amazingly doing fantastic. The framework is done. So that's where the discussion about the scale part, right? So that's where the tech started coming in. So that now when you start scaling, the collaboration is needed because if you look at today, even the collaboration easy if you're running complementary things. I'm working on school transformation. You are working on playground. Collaboration is easy. But you're also working on education. I'm also working on education, how the collaboration need to come. So that's when, Khushboo and Santosh really surprised me. They invited me to something called Edumenta, right? And it is a fantastic initiative how an NGO is trying to scale through partner network, tell about that journey. Khushboo, that's when the tech piece started coming in because now you figured out what you want to do. The solution is working. Now you bring in tech, put the entire thing in a box so that it can be scaled. Go ahead, yeah, please.
Okay. I think Edumentum story is one of our most favorite part of our journey. And Edumentum stories also prove that what good mentors can do in your journey. So it was Mantra's 5th year that we were presenting our strategy to our mentors like Sanjay Purohit, there was Shibu sir, there was Naga sir, that we discussed our strategy with. And we were always like, that how would this reach? If this is a solution that's working, how do you know that it can reach and benefit the 250 million children out there? India has more than 1 million government schools. So is Mantra gonna, so a simple question was, how is Mantra gonna improve 1 million schools in next 5 years? Because you don't have your lifetime to solve this problem. Children are gonna grow up and they'll become part of the adults in the society. And this is where we kept thinking of, what is feasible, what is viable, technology being one part, but technology in itself is not enough. So then the whole idea that how do we create 100 mantras? If mantra starts growing, it will become an elephant. And you know how slow an elephant is in turning. Any pivot, it will take a year for a big organization, right? So the whole idea started there that what can mantra as an organization do to create 100 more mantras in the ecosystem? People who understand their context deeply, who really want to work in education and improve education, how do we find them and how do we share our learning with each other so that we can learn from each other? And that was the vision, that was the idea with which we started Edumentum. It's early on, it was looked as a community of social entrepreneurs who will come together, learn. We will share whatever we had developed as our frameworks, our tools, our processes, our org development aspects, everything we shared openly with them. And in the community, the only non-negotiable was openness to sharing. Nothing is proprietary. That was the only non-negotiable for Edumentum. That is only non-negotiable for Edumentum. So, as of today, we have some 40 such organizations, beautiful organizations that are across 20 different states in the country. They know their context so well. Sitting in Bangalore, I can't understand what is going on in Assam. But somebody who's working in Assam, who's grown up in Assam, will know it very intuitively. And for them to just add a layer of context to step is so easy. And that worked. So today, I think wherever we are has only been possible because we have such a rich partner ecosystem. And we trust each other because we have worked together on smaller projects. We have engaged so deeply on discussions, on ideas, on debates, on theory of change. So, they become your enablers. Each of us, both of us become each other. Somebody who is in need of some document that maybe Mantra has, we will openly share quickly. For example, I'll give you a recent example. There's a partner who is working in Arunachal Pradesh, in one of the districts there. And they were doing a school leadership program that they needed some module on how to create vision for school improvement. And they said, if I sit and create, it will require me 1 week, I will do it. But does Mantra has it? And can I just borrow it? And then I will translate it in Assamese. I'll add a couple of examples that are more relevant. And then the module is ready. Right? It's so easy. It could be done in hours. So you're reducing the unnecessary work of building everything from scratch. One week, all that work could get done in 2 hours. Right? So that's the power of collaboration. I think we figured it out very intuitively. And we are just reaping the benefit. There's absolutely no second thought about it ever in our mind.
Yeah. Awesome. So that's what. So if you look at the step is that first is about identifying the solution. Then you develop the framework. That's what I tell many of the people. Say, I need funding to start an app. I said there are people who can do business in WhatsApp, right? They just take it to a few lakhs. Then you go build a technology app. So when they build this step platform in Excel sheet, then came about how can you bring in a proper technology and all that. The next part is the scale part. The sharing, this collaboration is very, very important for scale. Otherwise, India is a very diverse place. Scaling your solution across the country is impossible. Now with 46 partners, they're all in the same space in school transformation. Now they are following this platform that that Khushboo has developed through Mantra, and they are taking to across. How many states you are in now, Khushboo? Like in the 46 partners?
20 states. Partners.
Yeah, 20 states in, then that is the reach that you can achieve the scale. How the framework and bringing tech into that, helping the partners and picking up, and also openness and sharing. That's the one part she repeated, right? It's a non-negotiable because It's a pay forward. I've shared with you, then you share with me that you're enriching the system. So then we are finding the solutions across. So now, if we start solving this problem in schools in a particular districts, in a particular, many district, then it's collectively reaching into the state part. I think that's the natural evolution that mantra went from enabling the school transformation, school to sustain, towards next is about, having the schools together. You have a lot of learning. From the learning, then you started getting the district level and the state level. So tell about the journey towards now 3 states you are working with closely with the government. So that's the part I always tell about entrepreneurs as well, that immediately people say how to work with government. There is a program, I want to apply, tender, all this business. Government cannot innovate, but you innovate and scale, government will call you. Then you go there, you will have a major impact that you can do. So that's a learning. If you look at this microfinance, what Professor Yunus has created today, to bring billions of people into bankable system, now RBI picked it up, right? They've developed the system called NBFC, came from this one innovation. What the school today reading about EVS, it came from one NGO, right? So today everybody is learning about EVS in classes. So similarly, if you start looking at, what Swachh Bharat, what Gramalaya figured out when government picked up the ramp done, so he's done. So this is where an ability to transfer the state. So just tell that journey as well, Khushboo.
Sure. So I think, like Sir was saying, in fact, where I started in the beginning, right? As an organization, when we were working in 2014, 2015, we did not even have this imagination of scale. One program lead working in one school. So it was a very linear, like 1:1 mapping. Max, if you would make it more efficient because of your experience, you would do it 1:3, like one person working with 3 schools. But now suddenly when we met this one block education officer, that was our first tryst with scale and government education system. She said, come work with 200 schools. Now suddenly you're thinking 200 team members. And that's impossible. How much time will you take to hire 200 people to train them with the knowledge that you have and then actually put them in the school? So this imagination of scale itself was a journey for us at Mantra. And this is what we realized. And now with Edumentum program, we are also sharing it with other organizations, that it's a different ball game. The moment you start putting the question that, I have to work with 20,000 schools, with my STEP program has to be implemented in its essence across 135,000 schools in Uttar Pradesh. Now, how do you do it? Right? So while STEP was designed as a program with so much of these principles of sustainability, of scalability and all that, we still had to revisit many of these program activities to suit it for scale. First, for example, need assessment. And this is where now technology will come as a very, very major enabler. We understood this is a tool. This is what the school principal have to rate their schools on. But now you can't keep circulating these printouts, because even if it's not that they can fill the printouts, yes, they can rate themselves on that paper. But now how does the data reaches? By the time from every single cluster or every single school of that state, if the data has to reach to Lucknow, it will take 6 months. Right. By the time the data is useless. So now, because you knew why you needed technology and what technology has to enable, it was so easy for us to build that technology. Right? And in building also, again, openness, going back to the point, use open source projects. Don't start investing in a lot of proprietary technologies that your investments are going to go up. There's so many wonderful, in today's age and date, if people tell you that there's no open source technology that's available to meet your needs, it's not possible. Right? So leverage what exists, build on top of it. That's what we did. And technology really helped us streamline those processes, making sure that when people are feeling almost in real time, the data is coming back. And data is not only, again, designing for agency, the first principle that I talked about. You don't only bring data to the state. You have to make sure that the data is available for that school leader also. In many, many technologies that we have seen, data defies the law of gravity. It only flows upward. It never comes downwards, right? So you design for agency. That means as a school leader, I still have to have access to my reports. And maybe in future, you can show me how I'm doing compared to other schools in my cluster, right? Because then it motivates me further to act. So like this, how do you design school improvement program? You talked about microfinance. In our work, we have created this term called micro improvements. So we said school development plan sounds like a huge thing. Can you say, it's a series of micro improvement projects that I can take up every 3 months, because that's what our leaders here in Anekal were doing, right? So it's just about framing that in the right way, communication and packaging, so that it can actually be implemented at scale. And tech is a great enabler. How you repackage your offering is a great enabler.
Fantastic. Great. So the point about micro improvement, that's I remember Santosh sharing an interesting story once, that when they're doing the need assessment, that's the part, right? The step is about identify the need a school is needed, then you customize a program about fixing it. So they identified that there is children leaving the government school to private schools. So when they were doing this analysis, they were asking few parents that why they put the child in private school. It is very surprising. The result was the uniform. The parents like the uniform the private school was providing. So this mantra just immediately went to the local panchayat leader and got some funding, just changed the uniform for that and changed it. So this is what about customization. The technology, the system is able to be customized for what is needed, so that you are able to customize the program. If you have the scale does not meet the cookie cutter example, right? India is a very heterogeneous market. You can't put this one solution and then force fit. So that is why many of the government programs fail, is about the force fitting. You can, if you're interested, read the book by P. Sainath called Everybody Loves a Good Drought. He says that fantastically. This book, I read it in 99, and it's still valid, about how the cookie cutter examples of picking up and just putting across the country, there's one solution does not fit. So this is what you need to start learning from. The scale does not mean that I have this one trick that I will start applying across, which will be good for a for-profit. I'll tell you the different context. But in a non-profit side, if you're picking up a problem like school transformation, the solutions in each location is going to be really interesting about what they would need, right? So then the system should be tailored towards that part of it. So that's what micro improvement, I think you coined a very nice word on that topic. So that is able to capture that micro improvement needed and then take it forward. Then there is a question about for-profit and non-profit. So today, I will tell about people in social enterprises, mostly the for-profit social businesses, I call it. So this impact investmenting, it's a very interesting phenomenon now. The 20 years back, it was very, very interesting when we started Acumen. But there are more investors came in saying that it is just a VC space, only that is social. But now they're realizing that it takes a lot of time. It really requires a patient capital. So a lot of these impact investors are moving up, right, and doing with the mainstream. So there is a big gap in the layer below 250 million range, is where a lot of people are not addressing, right? So many of the impact investors saying, I'm working on the next 500. They're going up. The mainstream investors saying that I'm coming down next 500. So they are marrying, right? An impact investor and a mainstream investor investing together. So now the bottom line is very vacant. That's where it's very important that the CSR line is opened up. So that's why when we started the first cohort, we put it as an 18-month program earlier, because we said we'll pick up an organization, for a year old or something, so that after 18 months, 24 months with us, they're ready for a CSR funding. So this is what I encourage all the social entrepreneurs about, having the hybrid model, that, wherever there is a nonprofit model is required, you start learning, do a viability gap funding through that CSR donation, grants and stuff. But slowly start figuring out what services that you offer can be carved out to the for-profit. So what Brahmalaya has done, carving out a guardian. Brahmalaya builds toilets in the community toilets. But they realize that how do we bring the individual responsibility, right? How each house should have a toilet. So then Brahmalaya started creating awareness in a village. Then finally, they'll leave one messenger in every village. And then messenger will create awareness about building individual toilets. When there are 20 people ready, the guardian will give a loan to build a toilet. Similarly, SAR started the nonprofit side, understand waste management. Then they realized B2B could be a for-profit. So similarly, I think Mantra has gone through that as well. Now they've just launched about a for-profit venture. Just Khushboo talk about that. Yeah.
So it was, like you said, it was about identifying what is it that the schools are ready to pay for, because that they are our customers in this case, right? So out of many school improvements, micro improvement projects that we were doing with the school, we realized that the teaching aids, the low cost teaching learning materials that we were able to provide to the teachers, they really valued it. And every school, without a single exception, was like, yeah, we can pay for it. You tell me how much does this cost? And when we kept hearing it repeatedly, we said, why keep it? Why make the CSR pay for it while there is the school, the customer themselves wants to pay for it? So we, especially for high school, middle school and high school students, we were dealing a lot with the STEAM concepts, the science, technology, engineering, arts, and maths. That's the full form most of you would know. So we have this. I don't know how many of you have heard about Arvind Gupta. He's such a genius. He has created these low-cost science projects that help any student visualize and learn the concepts. And we realized that the more we started engaging with his content, more and more ideas started occurring in our own team's minds. And this was something that took shape of a full-fledged for-profit startup recently. We are calling it 1090. And now 1090 is a separate entity that deals with schools. It sets up labs. Students come there, learn. It's one of those micro improvement projects that schools can choose based on their need, right? But people are ready to pay for it. There's a clear value that the school is seeing. So that was the reason we decided to spin it off and keep Mantra more targeted on the vision and mission part of the school transformation, because that is something that still needs a lot of hard work and persistence.
Yeah, I recently visited one of the Nutcut labs in one of affordable school in Bangalore, right? So this is a very interesting part, and there was a question about involving parents. I think that's what this 1099 did very well, is about making the parents owning some of this lab as well. So they go home and run labs in their neighborhood. So I just met these around 6 parents, and some of them are graduates, some of them are 10th pass. But now they're so enthused about these, kids they have learned from Mantra. Now they are taking these kids to home, and they become micro entrepreneurs now. So they are doing tuition classes around, their neighborhood, teaching the children about science experiments and stuff like that. So this is the way about, if you do the transformation need to touch every aspect of the school. So today, if you just pick up that, okay, I'll just paint the school and get some, donation and improve the equipments and go. That's it. So 2 years after you go there, all of the paint will have peeled off and all the equipments are rusted. Nobody's using that. So this is what we need to start looking at, how you are solving the problem. That is very, very important. Otherwise, what happened that people want a quick solution, right? In 2 months, I want to see the change. Or the best thing is I can do this, paint the school, right? And that's it. So then you to put a picture, and I bought some nice equipment. And then what the proof is there is after 5 years, 3 years, can you go to the same place and then start looking at. So Priya, do you have people can ask question in audio or only the Q&A section? I saw the few questions. We addressed that during this conversation as well.
Yeah,
we will open up Q&A. If anybody want to type in questions, we can take it.
Yeah, I think
Priya, if it is okay, I would
yeah,
because of the example that Nagasa just gave about these women micro entrepreneurs, I think one question I see is of Prashant Rajendran on the Q&A, which says, what is it that a for-profit founder should learn from a non-profit founder?
Yeah,
I think this example is something that I would like to abstract. Non-profit founders always operate with an abundance mindset, saying that because you are so tight on resources, you always see that what is it that is abundantly available in my ecosystem, and how do I leverage that to achieve my mission, right? So in this example, for example, 1090 being a for-profit organization, we said, even if children are engaging with STEM concepts in the school, how do we make sure that at home also they are getting this supportive environment in community to engage with the concepts? But then that doesn't mean that I have to hire so many more teachers who will work with the students in the community. So we said, okay, who are the people who are available in the community? And we realized it's the women. The mothers are really available, and 4 to 6 that evening time they're all available. So then we said, can we work with these women? Can we help them become such facilitators of STEM so that they can engage a group of children in teaching them STEM concepts? And that really worked well, because now children are not only engaging with STEM in school, they're also engaging with STEM in the community. On top of that, because they're engaging with the STEM in community, they may not have access to the lab that is set up in school. As a for-profit founder, now I'm saying, oh, can I make these kits, science kits that children can access in the community centers? Right. So working with an abundant mindset instead of scarcity mindset is going to be a great learning that for-profit founders can take from non-profit founders. And second is always designing for the customer. I mean, that's like a no-brainer, because customer knows what they want and what they need. Maybe they will not articulate it in so many words. And that's the work. That's why we exist. We have to figure out this, what they say they need versus what they actually need. That chasm we have to overcome.
Right. There's one question about, I think we addressed this question holistically, but there's a straight question. Okay, how can I sign up a school, right? Yeah. Can you just take a dig at that question?
This is schools onboarding is fun because it's more like a sales process, right? You're trying to convince somebody to sign up to your program. So it's always, I think for us, what has always worked is not beginning with what we have to offer, but just asking where they are in their school journey. What is it that is their current big problems that they're worried about that they would like to get solved, and linking that to our program, and then talking about STEP. And that has not changed. So Shiba, that has not changed when we are working with one school, and it has not changed when we are engaging with the state. So even today, when we go to the state, we never say, this is our school leadership capacity program, this is our STEP program that you should do. We rather say, what are the active programs in the state? What do you wish could happen more? And that always opens up the conversation in a very, very, the power dynamics start to melt away, because then somebody is talking so proudly about the programs that they have run, and then they're asking, what else do I want? So giving them that, treating them with dignity, saying that, I think Naga sir talked about it so well earlier, that not going with a savior syndrome, but going with this co-creation mindset, saying that, hey, you have done great. What else is it that you need that I can offer? And that has helped us most of the times in signing up. And having said that, there are always scenarios when the other person will not get convinced, move on. There are so many other schools to be improved.
Right. Any other new questions? I think that's pretty much.
We have hand raised of two of the folks from the session.
Okay.
Okay. I'll allow Shiba Ali. Shiba, I would request to make it short. Yeah, please.
Yes. Thank you for giving me an opportunity. Very enlightening session. Khushboo, I have two questions. One is, you talked about that though you are approaching the schools, but there are other problems which are coming, you identify, and let's say the women folks were they were available, so you involved them, and getting that water tank thing and stuff like that. So my question is, that way your scope in a particular community becomes very wide. So how do you draw the line that you will go up to X level max? So that's my question. When do you think that, okay, you have to stop here? Because otherwise you might become another Anganwadi or things like that, just to change the whole ecosystem of that community. Thank you. And my second question is about the revenue. So all that, as part of CSR, it is asking people for the money, okay? But to make a CSR self-sufficient is also important. So in such a case, what is the revenue model any CSR or the social impact agencies can have? What could be their revenue model? Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Shiva. I think great set of questions. The first one is at the very face of it, right? The problems don't matter. What matters is, in the act of solving that problem, are you making problem solvers of the school leaders? right? So whether it is a water tank, whether it is some infrastructure requirement of the school, whether it is some parental participation, enrollment drive problem of the school, am I able, is my program able to help the school leader think of how to approach that problem? That is the only thing that matters to us, right? So we don't decide what is the solution. We don't say, hey, this is the best solution, try this. Rather, we say, how would I approach it? So let's sit together around the table. So the approach never changes. So that way, all we have to do is help them identify 10 such problems in sequence and help them solve these 10 problems so that their problem solving muscle gets very, very built, right? So the approach is important. I hope I'm able to communicate that. It's just the problem solving approach. What the solution comes out is completely decided by the school team.
Yeah. Absolutely. So I think coming back to the same point, what we keep saying about the enablers, right? So you enable them so that you're no longer needed, right? They're able to solve the problems themselves. And then the technology developed to identify what are they needing. So don't just do a prescriptive model on that part. The other question, Khushboo, there is a very interesting question that people ask about nonprofit is about the CSRs or donors supporting the, in the fees, the salaries, and the management of it, right? So how do you handle that? And is there a change in the thought process in donors on these? Many are wanting to support the programs, right? And then supporting the team is always, kind of a challenge for some of the nonprofits.
Yeah. I think in our case, team is the only cost. Yeah. We only engage with donors. We say if you are trying to create a sustainable, improved education system, you have to induce the talent that helps the people in the system act better, right? There are school leaders, government is already paying them. More than 90% of the education budget just goes into funding these teachers and leaders' salary, right? Yeah. Now, by paying that additional money through your CSR to support our team, you are able to actually, the ROI, are you able to see the return on investment? You are helping with some 2 crore funds, but you are able to make the 200 crore far more efficient and effective.
Yeah, absolutely.
So actually, human resource, I very strongly say that human resource is the only money that NGO should ask for. Program component, any other program component, government should pay for.
Perfect, great. And can you just give a little more detail on the tech platform, right? How that is working, how it's built?
Yeah, I think tech for us came, so 2013 is when we started Mantra for Change, and it was only in 2017, 2018 that we started thinking technology because of our own learning curve. And for many of us on this call, it could be sooner. Like I said, it was always what the program wants to achieve and how can tech enable it in achieving streamlining the kind of data visibility. So basically for me, technology has always been about what verbs do I want to enable. And as at Mantra, we have always called 4 verbs are very important in school improvement journey. Sense, is my school leader able to sense what's happening around her? Is she able to make sense of what data she has collected? Is she able to learn on the go because she has to improve the school? So am I able to access learning content that I need to be able to improve? And last is the actual act of improvement. So sense, make sense, learn, improve. And these are the 4 verbs that our technology platform enables, where there is this whole observation capability that we designed, where people can create their own forms. So even if your organization has some, say, school walkthrough form or customer satisfaction form, whatever, the platform has been such designed that you can host any kind of tool on top of it. And that was built from a point of view that every state may want to have a separate tool, right? So it's contextualization and hence generalized design is something that configurable design is something that we kept in our mind while designing technology. Similarly, data insights, the big sense part of it, I already talked about it, not only enabling state leaders or people in power to see data, but also people who are actually leading the change journey, people in the process of change to be able to see data. And always when you're designing your product, keeping it in mind that the use cases are pretty generic. You have considered every possible use case that you can imagine. For example, what a leader in Assam will require, what a leader in Bihar will require, what a teacher leader in Punjab will require. So having these multiple use cases in front of you helps you write a product story that is far more generic and can lend itself to better use cases.
Yeah. So you can always, if you're if you're in education, school transformation, you can join the Edmonton program, what Mantra is, conducting. You will have access to all these technologies that, what they're using, so that you can accelerate that. So the other major point, as I mentioned, they're very good in the documentation part, and all of you need to do that. So the last 6-7 years that I know Mantra for Change, the newsletter, I never missed a newsletter from them. It still comes, right? So that is very important. Now I've seen some of the Edmonton members as well. They follow the same thing, right? So Vidya, she sends this newsletter even now. So this is what is very important, is about a communication, right? So build that communication with your stakeholders so that you are in their mind all the time. So whenever there is a need, when you reach out, you know what is happening, right? So this is very, very important aspect, right? The number one, what I've observed in Mantra, which is helpful for their success. One is about the ability to document. Right, everything is captured. Nothing is left out. Nothing is left out in somebody's head. So that's how you build the institutional memory. Right, many of the organizations fail in institutional memory because the data capturing is very bad. The documentation is very bad. Once you have a documentation solid, then the system is evolving, right, based on the need. The micro improvements happen. Then you can start analyzing that. Okay, wow, I've done this. This materials I given to the teachers, they loved it. So then, is there a business opportunity? If people are willing to pay for this material, can I spin off that? So that comes from the learning of the institutional memory, that capturing the information for a long time. So this is what you need to be spending. I see that there are like point questions asking that, how do I sign up to the school? But you start understanding the history, how they went ahead in identifying what problems to solve. So that is what very, very important for you to understand is about, is the problem really is existing in the school? Does the school really need it? First, we need to identify. That's where the STEP platform is a filter. You put the framework, you'll throw out what the school wants. Then you customize your program based on that. That's what you need to start looking at, is about, if you are, say, for example, working on playgrounds, then you could partner with Mantra and say that if a government school is bringing out the playground as an issue, then they will call you. Hey, here is a partner for you to build the playground. If you are teaching about the parent engagement platform, then partner with Mantra so that they can bring you in, saying that here is a platform that can help you in parent engagement. So like this, you also start partnering with people. The partners will come when you have an ability to solve only one problem. And if we solve all the problems, you will have competition. Nobody want to share anything with you because they will know that you're going to take this and you're going to start doing it yourself. But when you are confident about solving one problem, so Mantra for Change is very confident about the solution they built. It's proven for a few years. Then they opened up to that for everybody in the education system. Come and share it. Come and use it. Because they're confident about their system. The partners who came forward also, it accelerated them, right? The example she mentioned, if Arunachal want to kick off tomorrow, they can take the basic system and customize locally, and they can get off the road tomorrow. So you're not waiting for next 3-4 years, reinventing the wheel. So this is what people in the social entrepreneurship need to realize, is about how do you collaborate? Because the number one destination for all the CSR fund is education. I've seen that 60% of the work people are doing is a repeat. I have the lesson planning app, I have this technology, I have this technology. So they're all reinventing the same thing. That's why we are not able to build a single organization. Rohini Nilikani once told me that if I read $1 billion check, there is no NGO in India could receive it. Because people are not built as scalable models, right? Because they're worried about the turf. They'll keep everything close to the heart. They're not able to scale. So that is where in India, we never had a very, very scaled business on, social entrepreneur, non-profits. You see, you take the biggest non-profit in the country, they'll be doing 30, 40 initiatives that they're going on. But if you look at from the example of Teach for India, I always tell people it's a great example of one problem across the world, I'm solving it. So that's the scale that you can do. Go deeper on everything that what you're working on, and then build up, bring a technology that will help you on scale, right? So that is a way that to take that forward. We can have maybe one last question. Is there anything new has come? Pricing for customers. Yeah. Can you address that, Khushboo? We can take that as the last. Yeah.
Which one, sir? Sorry.
Pricing this, when you price this, your for-profit side, right? So how do you do pricing? Yeah.
On the for-profit side, okay, I'm very early on our journey of the for-profit side, but usually how we do pricing is that,
or maybe the affordable schools you operate.
yes, yes. So it's more about finding out what they are comfortable paying, and that you are able to see that if for the value that we are able to offer, I mean, obviously it has to be above our cost price, right? So we typically have a 40% margin to say, you start there, and then depending on what is their affordance, we always find a reasonable bargain. But it has always been, I think if the product is of value, how do I address it? The pricing is so much subject to what market you are targeting and what is it that your customers can pay. So the pricing has to be set accordingly. It depends, right?
Yeah. So I'll give you one example of this one for-profit venture, Happy Hands, they make this egg. So that has 4 times more nutrient value than the ordinary egg. The ordinary broiler egg is 5 rupees. Now, this Happy Hand egg is selling as 24 bucks. So the way they discovered the pricing is they went to the market and they saw that there's one egg was selling as an organic egg. And they kept, 2 rupees below that price. And they saw that it was selling okay. They say that, there is no difference. So can we increase the price? They increase the price to, more than what the organic egg was selling. Because this egg is better than the organic because it's a free-range poultry. And they have a human certified, international certification as well. So now they moved up, a little bit more, and they realized that 24, it was working on okay. But why this pricing thing happened was when they started analyzing what the price they were selling at. And because this is a free range poultry, right? The chickens are roaming around wildly, and the productivity level is less compared to the broiler. They don't leave that, lay that many eggs. So then they saw that, the cost they're selling at, the price they're selling at, the cost involved is very, very high because the feed is all organic, right? There's Ayurveda materials and stuff. Then they realize that I'm losing money on every egg. But can I increase the price so that I will be able to recover the cost? That's how they started increasing the price. That they realized that the market was willing to pay that much. Even today they are the most expensive egg in the country. They're still doing very well. So that iteration that Khushboo mentioned, you start interacting with the customer base and then start looking at who's your customer you're targeting. That I always tell our students in NSRCEL and IAM, go look at Banagatta Road, right? There is the whole Banagatta Road is Ireland. There 2 million people live in that one road. You'll see a BMW, you'll see a Maruti Alto, you'll have a KTM, you'll have a TVS 50, you have your Decathlon, you have a BSA, right? Who's your customer? So if you're not a US and then you define one price and just target everybody. So you have to segment what your customer segment is first, and then start looking at that. How can I, carry forward with selling that? So when you put the egg as 24 bucks, so my target segment is now the BMW gang, or even with the person who is, has a new child now, and they save money to spend money, buy a good egg for their child. So there is a native special, my another investment, they are very, very in the cottage industry, snacks they sell. And they recently met one of their customers and saying that the husband told him that, I never tasted your snacks. He said, why? Because we save all our money to buy your snacks, and goes to only our children. So this is what you have to build the value, right? And then the price is not a problem. Today, people play on the price, which is a wrong strategy. If we play on the price, some guy always can put you out of the business by giving 1 rupee less. But if we play on value, price become immaterial. So that is where you need to spend more time on what solution, what problem you're solving, and then what is your solution, and is there a value for the solution? So that's where you can build a scalable business. And any final remark, Khushboo, you want to share that we have not covered?
I think we covered too many interesting topics this afternoon. Yeah, I think it's just about, if I have to reiterate, I can't emphasize enough on saying that figure out the problem. I mean, discover and really then find out what is the problem that you're trying to solve. Solutions can keep changing. Solutions will keep emerging depending on the reality. It's like somebody said that always write your purpose in pen and rest everything in pencil. So yeah, I think finding that problem is very important.
Awesome. So that's where, it's very important to have this purpose very clear. There are questions about talent, HR, all of that purpose. If the purpose is clear, there are people are willing to come and work for you. And you need to be also build a culture that you stand by what you really preach as well. Because as a startup entrepreneur, the only thing what you have is the vision that you're trying to build. So if you look at, places like Sahas, it's been like 20 years. There are people there with her for many, many years, right? They're all growing along with the organization. We have seen people leaving Ola and joining, Sahas, because they're looking at, beyond money, that I want a purpose as well. But the purpose need to be very clear. It is not the purpose you should not change the purpose based on who is on the other side of the table. So then people will see that as well, that, you give a gyan to attract talent, but you don't follow, you're not doing exactly what you're talking about. Then they're going to compare you with on the price part. So there is money is important, but that alone is not going to cut it. If that is the case, why Infosys has a attrition, right? They're paying in lakhs and lakhs. They're like 30%, 15%, whatever IT industry attraction. But in IMB, our professors, we don't have attrition. There people are there like 30 years, 40 years. IMB does not pay that much. BMTC, there's no attrition, right? So this is what you have to start looking at, is about what is the purpose and what is the talent that you're attracting, and stay true to your purpose. I'm sure in this funding, the talent, it's not another problem. Khushboo and Santosh have proved it. Fantastic scalable model they built. They shared the secrets about how they did it. It is very tough to follow that, but that is where the pudding is about how you can build a scalable business. It requires an effort, and you have to have a lot of discipline in following the vision so that you are able to build a scalable business. Otherwise, you'll end up doing too many things. You will survive, but you won't scale. All the best. Wish you everyone. Thank you very much, Khushboo, for your time. Thanks everyone for joining. Thanks, Priya.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Khushboo and Naga. This is very insightful session, and I have learned a lot of things from this session. And of course, everyone in the session must have enjoyed that as well. Applications for our cohort of Impact Orbit are open. Please read about it. And you want to know more about the entrepreneurship ecosystem and the insight that was shared in the session, please read Back to Bharat. It's a really interesting and insightful book. So thank you so much everyone for joining us today.
Thank you. Bye-bye.